Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is something I just find odd about Scotland, wind turbines and renewable sector for power. I think it's a bit stinky, to be honest with you. Spidey senses are up and I'm all over this story. Now, today there was a newspaper article that I came across in one of the newspapers talking about what they believe is a conflict of interest with wind turbines, right? And the story's a story, right? And it's not what is triggered my head. But I'll talk about the story, then I'll explain to you why I think it's stinking, right? So, the Express have done an article called headline SNP Ministers in Conflict of Interest Row over wind farms as they net almost £100 million income from the turbines on public land, right? Just before I start, people often ask, how can we support the channel? You can become a member of the channel, or you can be a subscribe free. And the easiest thing to do is click the thumbs up button. That helps spread the reach of each video. So if you can do that, that'd be great. So what they're saying is an exclusive campaign group, Action Against Spin, have shed doubt on why the Scottish Government overturned so many wind farm rejections as they net a pretty penny from taxes and domestic rates from developers. The Scottish Government has been accused of a conflict of interest in allowing huge wind farm developments to build on publicly owned land. SNP ministers want to increase the amount of turbines across the country in order to hit net zero climate targets. However, it's been revealed that there are also monetary reasons for these plans, with the Nationalist Executive netting almost £100 million in income from wind farm companies just last year. It has led to concerns that Scots are not being given a voice in how public-owned land is being utilised. I don't really have a big issue with the Scottish Executive making some money for the Scottish people through the use of public land, to be honest with you. However, that's not what this story is about. We previously told how a Scottish National Party Quango has chopped down 17 million trees in Scotland in order to make way for renewable energy developments. This provoked anger in some rural communities who claim that their landscape has been blighted by massive turbines. Aberdeenshire, Moray and the rural Perthshire are all saturated with wind farms. This bit's important, with 19,000 planned to be built over the next 6 years. That's 3,000 odd per year. That's 10 a day. That's some doing, isn't it? 10 of them a day, spread over 6 years. It's a lot of turbines. However, statistics published last year showed that the government had overturned 50% of appeals to stop wind farms being built. This is the key to the Express's story. This is not where my head is. I'll explain that once I finish with their story. So what they're saying is more than half of appeals to stop wind farms are getting rejected. So local communities are complaining, about rural, scenery, etc., 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 and they're getting told, no, forget it, your appeal's put in the bin, we're building them anyway. Campaign groups Scotland Against Spin want SNP ministers to adopt stricter rules around the building of more turbines, following the UK government's footsteps where communities are allowed the final say rather than civil servants. And they revealed the eye-watering amount of money raked in from developments. At July 2022, an estimated £82.2 million was anticipated to be raised in the 22-23 year in non-domestic rates and £13.2 million in rental income from wind farms and single turbines. This comes from all public land which is used to build renewable energy sources. That ain't that much. Now, the reason I say that ain't that much is a previous video that I'd done about these offshore ones that Nicola Sturgeon pawned the leases to about 80% of the usable offshore seabed leases for 750 million quid. Now that sounds like a big number, but it ain't a big number. That's 80% of your stuff gone. We've been told for ages we're going to get a national energy company. That'd have been a great time to do it, right? And then when the energy's made, we get to keep the money as a society. But that's not what's going to happen. The energy companies will make all the profit, and in some of them, as we've seen before, they'll be giving guarantees that if the national grid doesn't take the money, take their power and pay them for the power, we'll give them some dough anyway, right? Because that's what these deals are like. They're all stinky. So one thing you can rest assured is the businesses will be making fortunes. And the businesses that got all of these leases for the offshore ones were all foreign. Some of them are actually foreign countries' national energy companies, owned by the foreign country. It's a pure sham, and as I say, I'll put a link to the video that I've done about this in the video if any of you had missed it. It was about 5-6 months ago I done it. So we will be making a bit of money off of this. That's no deny it. That's not up for debate. But the energy companies will be making fortunes, and guaranteed fortunes, because we're daft enough to do deals, and we've done plenty in the past, where people who generate energy are guaranteed hundreds of millions of pounds off the Scottish Government, even if the national grid doesn't take the power, right? It's just one big, rolling, big bit of scam, okay? And I'll tell you more once I finish this article. Spokesman for Scotland Against Spin pointed out that the Scottish Government is the biggest landowner in Scotland, but the public are not being given a voice in how the public land is being used. She told the Scottish Daily Express this is the biggest conflict of interest that could be imagined. The Scottish ministers are in charge of consenting S36 wind farms, big wind farms over 500 megawatts, which will line their own pockets against the wishes of many local communities and local authorities and the public who really own the land. Bear in mind that they're putting this stuff into private businesses, and they were the ones that will make the fortunes. Some wind farm developers like Scottish Power Renewables are now applying for a permanent planning permission on publicly owned land. That means the public never gets the land back, even if the political climate changes and communities stroke public are given a say in how public owned land is used in the future. It means, for example, that if the Whiteley hydrogen project is consented permanently, although this is not on publicly owned land, that even if it does blow up or does cause downstream flooding or other nuisances, there is nothing that can be done about it. It is there for perpetuity. There is a number of huge wind developments being considered by the SNP ministers, including the tallest turbines in the UK in Royal Deeside, the proposals for 16 massive turbines, which measure up to 656 feet and twice the height of Big Ben. That's quite tall when you consider that. At the Hill of Fair near Bankery, has received over 1,000 objections, but it's up to the government to decide whether it goes ahead. Blah, 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 blah. So that's the story, and it's a bit of a farce. A lot of people don't like these things, and the Scottish Government seem to be running roughshod over how they handle objections. Okay. However, the 19,000 more in the next 6 years, 3,000 a year, 10 per day, roughly, got my head in a spin. And I'm thinking, why do we need that? And I'll tell you why I'm concerned with whether we actually need it. I revert to an article on the SNP's own website dated the 26th of January 2024, 4 months ago, where Neil Gray is bumming that renewables produce more than 100% of Scotland's electricity demand for the first time. Right? So you could say, well, these are based on figures in 2023, 2022 into 2023. If a renewable sector is producing enough electricity to supply 100% of Scotland's needs, why do we need more? Well, when you read in here and read between the lines, you find out why they need more. Because what they want to do is start selling their renewable energy to England. And you think, well, that's good, because that'll get some money back for us. No, it will not. The energy companies will make the profit off of that. Now, if we've got 100% of our needs already been made out of renewables and we need more, and we keep getting told renewables are not only clean, but relatively cheap, Two things. Why are our bills still high? And why do we have a levy on our bills for green energy? This to me is just a big scam. Somebody somewhere is making fortunes. And I'll tell you who it ain't. It ain't me and you, Scottish public, and it ain't even the Scottish Government, who are making a wee tickle because of rates and stuff like that, right? But honestly, £82.2 million 2 years ago ain't a lot of money. And the whole scam of things, there you go, that was a Freudian slip if ever I had one. So the whole thing to me is absolutely stinking. What we're doing is we are blighting our countryside, giving away use of publicly owned land, making a smidgen of the total turnover that you'll get because we don't own anything. And we're giving these companies guarantees so that if they invest some money to build a tower or a hydro plant or whatever it is, and it doesn't get bought by the national grid, we're paying them anyway. So you could have an instance where it would cost our government more than 83 million that they bring in revenue through taxes, would give us more in guarantees out to these companies. I would love to. Now, those who know me, the biggest sort of story that I dealt with before was the Humza money to the UNRWA. And that came because I read a story and thought that doesn't add up. And I went away and I'd done some work on it and we exposed that he'd overruled government decisions and advice on where this money should go, and it certainly wasn't UNWRA. So I think I'm going to be doing the same with this, where I've read something, doesn't make sense, I'm thinking that doesn't tie in with what you were telling me before, and I will probably end up doing more videos on this. But believe me, I have developed over the years spidey senses that when you smell shite, you know it's shite. And this ain't stacking up. It seems to me another big scam, which is tied to, oh, it's green and it's this and it's that. Another, you know, I've touched on it. It's like, how green are these things? You know, how much devastation to the environment in building them, making them, transporting them here, running them, and they need generators to start them up and all this sort of stuff. And, you know, what is the actual true effect? And I don't believe it's the figures that, you know, we're led to believe that it's the best thing we can do for the environment. I don't actually, I'm not swallowing that. I think nuclear would probably have been a far better way to go if we were actually A, trying to look after the planet, and B, try to look after the public's pennies when we get these large bills. So I think the whole thing's a sham. I've touched on it there. I hope you've followed what I'm saying, and I will get my wee trough into everywhere I can, my wee nose into the trough of information, and try and discover some more about this. But between this, a video I've done also before about Nicola Sturgeon and the grants that she gave and the guarantees, £500 million to an Indian guy, Gupta, it's stinking. It is absolutely stinking, and I'll try my best to get to the bottom of it. So if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing. Get involved in the comments below. They're always good for a chat. And unless, the most important thing is, unless you are any of these SNP stroke green people that are just spinning this total bollocks, right? Everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.